Why'd you have to go and say that for, Johnny? Oh, you can't speak now. Number 8, number 8, number 8, number 8, number 8. Hello there and welcome to another television review from Movie Burner Entertainment. I'm giving us our full name tonight, John.
Whoa!
Just like thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream, which is always greatly appreciated here at MB. So, as you can see, my co-host, John C. Walsh is there. And he is going to be guiding us through this review experience. We are, of course, talking about Wandavision Episode 8. I have not got a clue what this title is for this episode. And I don't really care, to be honest with you.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Yep.
That's a good title, I suppose. John, just before I hand it over to you,
Yes.
my thoughts, and you can give brief thoughts as well on this episode, because last week's was a bit of a downer, I felt, for personally. I felt, it definitely wasn't up to the standards of the previous weeks. Certainly picked up again, hasn't it? The quality's right there. The actual focus as well on this episode was very interesting. It wasn't a big cast in this episode. You're only talking maybe about 3 or 4 people. Mm-hmm. Main characters, that is. Yeah. So I'm going to hand it over to you anyway, John. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a very dark episode. It starts off dark as well, which we'll get into, but I'll pass it over to you now and you can take us through this guide.
Yes, Stephen, in short, if you want to watch and just bugger off, it was wondrous. To quote Billy Connolly, it was wondrous. It was a
Brilliant.
It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It was a great episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Stephen, I wasn't too harsh on the show last week because it's been hammer and tong. 100 miles an hour for 6 episodes. That 7th one, literally taking a break. Wanda says, I'm taking a break. I'm having a quarantine-style staycation. And that's what it was all about, really, letting the hair down. Agatha reveals her true identity. Agnes, that is, at that point. So I could get on board with that. That little dip in pace. They've now stepped it back up, getting into the sort of penultimate final 2 episodes, and it was needed. And Stephen, it was absolutely glorious watching this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a whole lot of questions. We've got answers to some, not so much to other questions. Stephen, I usually speak about intros. I quite like the fact we didn't have a little sitcom style intro this week. That's done and dusted. The kid gloves are off. There is no more the cat's out the bag, or the bunny is out the bag, because of course she likes a little bunny rabbit. She's a witch, is Agatha Harkness. We don't get a traditional intro. We go straight into the Salem witch trials. It's Salem, Massachusetts, New England. Famous event, famous location. They were burning people at the stake, Stephen, for being witches. Agatha's put to the stake by her own coven, is it? Is it a coven of witches? I'm doing it again. You recall I spoke about that many moons ago, Stephen. Is it a covenant of nuns? A nunnery?
I think it is, yeah.
It's a coven of witches. She's betrayed them. A cattery, yep. She's dabbling. I'll just make up a word. Dabbling's the word I'm looking for. In black magic. And they are coming after her. Her mother,
and not the box of chocolates.
No, not black magic. Oh, I wish I had some black magic just now, I have to tell you. Done weight training before this and took my dog out for a walk. It's been a chaotic last 45 minutes, and try to sort the hammer behind me as well. That was interesting. But Stephen, she dabbled in it. They're coming after her. They're trying to kill her. They're trying to force their magic into her. And almost like the advert, the commercial we got in a previous episode, I'll feast on your magic. She's feasting on their magic. She turns it back on them. It's almost like Harry Potter facing off against Lord Voldemort. The magic hits. You can see the ebbing and flowing. the dominants try to get a grip on each other. That's what it was like here. She turned the magic. They shriveled up like old, what were those fishes called, Stephen? That you've actually got them in, you've got them in lean parents, I think, anchovies. They shriveled up like some anchovies. And the old mother, Stephen, I don't know if you noticed this, I'm getting off on tangents already, I'm speaking way too long.
No. If it's about the mother, I think I might know what you're going to say.
The Crown. Did you
I noticed
spot The Crown? I thought that was very cool.
You know who she looked like? She looked like Evan Peters in drag.
Yes, she did.
Is that Evan Peters?
He's back again.
Yeah.
Stephen, I thought it was a great intro. It was really cool.
Yeah,
we got some backstory into Agatha. This character who we've seen floating around the shadows, we've not really known who she was. She revealed herself last week to be Agatha. It was all her. All along. We get a little insight into her backstory. I loved it. That says, I say here in my notes, it didn't feel like a Marvel cinematic story.
No.
It felt like a nondescript fantasy film. It was a cool scene, but it was tonally weird. And they subtly de-aged the actor of Agatha as well. I noticed that. Not full-blown sort of Kurt Russell, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but there was subtle de-aging going on there. She is a little bit older than what she was in that scene. What did you make about that introduction, Stephen? The Salem Witch Trials, the different magic going around here. Did you feel it felt like a Marvel project, or did you think it was almost like a Lord of the Rings meets some nondescript video game?
It was like a Tim Burton film.
It was very strange, wasn't it?
It was like Sleepy Hollow. I think what this episode and this sequence you're referring to points to, and it gives us a good inkling, is the origins of these two characters. Obviously, Agatha Harkness and, of course, Wanda Maximoff.
Yeah,
we'll obviously get into Wanda's point of view as we go through this review, John. But it was a great scene. It was a great setup as well. And you're right about the de-aging. I didn't notice it right away. I think it was maybe near the end of the scene. I went, she looks a little bit younger than she does, obviously, in other episodes. And that kind of gave me an idea. She wasn't like the way Patrick Stewart was de-aged in that terrible X-Men film. I think it was the last time.
Robert Downey Jr.
He looked like a spoon, too smooth looking. It was just subtle, as you said, and that kind of gave you an idea how long she's been around for as well. You're talking over 400 years ago this event happened.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. That's Oil of Yuli, clearly. And I think
Keels. Fine line, concentrate.
The other thing, John, I noticed was, you know how that kind of purple sort of essence that comes off her?
Yes.
She doesn't seem to be in control of that, I noticed. I don't know if maybe she was just lying when she said, I'm not bad or whatever, but it was as if this was possessing her.
I don't think she is bad. I don't think she is inherently bad.
I think it is a spirit within her that's controlling her. The other thing I noticed as well, John, was the Marvel logo was purple this week. That was cool. I liked that.
Yeah.
Very subtle.
And it went straight into the Salem Witch Trials intro. It was very, very cool, Stephen, the way it changed. I don't think she's inherently bad, this character. I think she is trying to be good. She says it, I want to be good. Help me.
Yeah.
They try to kill her. They think she's too far gone. I've seen other people suggesting Ngomadu, I think it is from the first Doctor Strange movie. He's got purple essence. He's maybe trying to get into this reality. I don't think it is that. Could be, again, Mephisto. That's the other one, the devil. I don't know what's going on. It may just be she's unwieldy. She hasn't got full control of the powers at that point. She's still very young. And maybe now she's got full control over it. She seems to be able to harness that purple sort of power. I like the colour coding of powers in this episode, Stephen. We've seen yellow. Yeah. Maybe hitting the Mind Stone. We see red of Scarlet Witch. We've seen, was it bluish in Monica last week? And the purple of, obviously, Agatha. I like that sort of colour coding of the magic. It was very cool. But after that, Stephen, we obviously move right back to the events of last week. We're in the basement of Agatha's house. She's got runes on the wall stopping Wanda from attacking her. She kind of goads her a little bit. She's going on about Pietro, or Fietro as she calls him, fake Pietro. I love that, incidentally. I've seen another channel speaking about that, how the family got their fingers on the pulse, Kevin Feige and stuff like that. They just know their audience perfectly, Stephen. She says a cool little line that I've wrote down. There's lots of lines from Agatha in this. I think she's a standout. I'll get that off my chest right away. Standout character by a mile in this. So well acted. Necromancy was a non-starter because your brother's body is on another continent, not to mention full of holes. She's goading her. And I liked it. I loved this scene, Stephen. She's showing her magic off. She's changing this fly again. Could be a hint of Mephisto. Relation to the devil and stuff like that. She's changing the fly into a bird. Tossing it into a little rabbit's mouth. Lots of cool magic going on. She's back and forth. She's jealous of Wanda. I think that's clear. She feels her power, the essence of this event. She's drawn to it. She tries to sort of decipher what's going on with Wanda. What was your thoughts on that scene, Stephen? Just her showcasing her magic. Speaking about all the things she's done, manipulating her using theatro and stuff like that, and then what that leads up to. What was your thoughts on that little scene? It was a cool little scene for CG, a little change in the things and stuff.
Yeah, John, I know we'll get into I know we will get into visuals. I know we will, because this episode is a standout for visuals. But this scene was very interesting to me, because it was like a James Bond villain seeing the confrontation with the villain. When, you know, the old James Bond films, that is when the villain would tell you exactly what their plan was and what they've already done. You know, that kind of thing. Just setting up the plot. But it also revealed that, you know, what she was after, and what she's wanting, obviously, to harness Wanda's energy and her power, and she wants to know how she does it. You know, she gets to the we all get to the root of, obviously, what the point of this whole setup is, and that's all done in that scene. But it's very unusual to see Wanda in a vulnerable position as well. I don't think I've seen her that powerless since she's been in the MCU. So it was very interesting to see how restraint she had to be in this scene, forcibly restraint, and it gives an inkling to Agatha's powers as well. We got that obviously in the sort of intro scene, but it was just a very interesting scene. You talk about dialogue, John, you're right. I think Agatha Harkness has some lines in this episode, excellent delivery as well, but she's totally in control of the situation throughout this episode, and I know we'll obviously get into it as we get through all the different sequences here, you know, the different points you've highlighted here, John, but I just thought the character was very interesting, very to the point as well, not hiding anything, you know, and she's also got the kids as well. I've got your kids, Dan.
Yeah.
So
great mind.
Got to remember that she has got the upper hand over Wanda at this point. I'll go for a headshot.
Something about a mustard magnet or something like that.
Yeah, John, I would love to review Alan Partridge. I would absolutely love to review it.
Steve Coogan, he's just the man. I love it.
Yeah.
What a great TV show that was. Stephen, you're right. She's goading her. She's speaking about magic and stuff like that. The runes, or maybe a naivety surrounding witchcraft. Wanda isn't really been seen as or perceived as a witch prior to this. This episode sets up that she has perhaps been a witch from the get-go. Her powers were enhanced by the Infinity Stone. She's not got a clue about runes, walking into this basement, losing her powers, the ability to attack. Agatha, on the other hand, hardcore witch, been around for 400 years, knows the score. She mentions the book again, Stephen, and I watched another channel again today because I like to fill myself up with all of the information surrounding this. The Darkhold. Oh, we're getting some bleed over, Stephen, from your end. I can hear my Kermit the Frog voice. It's not good. I hate that voice. That's why I don't like listening.
I'll try to do a sound check there, John, just making sure
Kermit the Frog.
We're okay.
But I'll go to myself, Stephen, if you want to do that again. But she sets up the what's it called? The Darkhold once again. And this other channel had better memory than me. They actually went back to Doctor Strange again. There was a missing book in is it an emporium or something? I can't recall what they're actually called, those places that Stephen Strange hangs around in. One of those books was missing, and I think it's the book relating to dark magic. It's the Darkhold. That's going to be very important moving forward. I think they're going to set up the likes of Blade using this book, and the things that are slipping out of this TV show, I think they're going to gather apace. Roots are going to start supplanting themselves in various parts of the MCU moving forward. I'm just loving the way that they're setting all of these little things up in this TV show, Stephen. Is that something you think's possible? Going off on a little tangent, the Darkhold, this magical book. I know you had the headphones off there briefly, Stephen.
No, I get the gist of what you're saying.
Yeah, it was missing from Stephen Strange's Doctor Strange. This book was missing. Do you think there'll be a link with that? Do you think that's what will bring Stephen Strange in? Try to get access to this book. Do you think this could set up the likes of vampires and Blade and stuff like that. Could this be the sort of ignition for the Blade movie and things like that? Before we move on, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, as well as obviously, using television as a great vehicle for storytelling, and that's what they're using. They're utilising it correctly to flesh out characters that we're not really familiar with. Mm-hmm. You also have the opportunity, as you said, John, to branch out and link other stories and characters into other tangents.
Yep.
And I think that's what they are doing here. You're absolutely right. I think we're going to see a lot of links to other television shows and movies as well going forward. Kevin Feige already said this: you need to watch the television shows because they are a big part of the MCU. They are a big part of the story going forward, and he's absolutely right. And I'm glad they're doing this. I think television is in a position now financially that it can go up against the biggest of films. You look at the budgets of this production, mm-hmm. and if you were to put all these episodes, times that by 9, John. Yeah, exactly. It's a budget of a big film, and the thing is, it's a quality in writing, and I love this format. We got it with The Mandalorian. That was sort of the one that kicked it all off, mm-hmm. With big franchises that we're only used to presenting in film form. And we're getting it here again. We'll get, obviously, you said, John, we're going to have a week's break before we get the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. But again, we're going to get characters. You mentioned it last week. Darcy could bleed into that television series as well, depending on timelines, I suppose. The Loki connection as well, John, which I know we'll get into.
I think there's definitely a connection there. I definitely think there's a connection there. People are saying it isn't connected. They've confirmed it. But, Stephen, it blows my mind that there couldn't be a connection. And that kind of does bleeds into what we're going to be speaking about, Stephen. There's obviously various different journeys into Wanda's past. We see the Hydra sort of labs where she's been, in a sense, tortured with her brother. Prior to that, we'll speak about the scene prior to that before, Stephen, but there is the Tesseract. The Tesseract is there, which is Loki's thing, whatever you call it, staff, with the Tesseract. Yeah. How can he not be involved in this, man? How can that not lead into Loki? He'll want to get his hands on that. Unless maybe the timelines don't match up. I don't know. It's possible.
Well, he doesn't get his hands on it till the Avengers film.
Yeah.
Doesn't that's his first time he gets his hands on it.
So I'm talking.
No, but he'll have his eye on it. He will have his eye on it. That's his goal. That's what he wants. But no, I think there could be, John. There might be. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Stephen, also, we'll get into that, though. The actual little journeys into Wanda's past. I thought that was an amazing sequence. It lasted for about 15 minutes or so. It was almost the heart of this episode. Previously on, they're going back and looking at her past. It's almost like that's what it's linked to. I mean, that's what they do with titles with these TV shows. The titles
sense,
invariably link into what's happening in an episode, John, come on. But Stephen, I loved it. The fact that it's set up, or maybe it's not set up, it's settled all of the questions you had regarding how this hex had formed, how Wanda got to where she was there other people involved. We go back to the apartment of her childhood. Pietro's there, the mum and dad are there. I thought that was amazing, the way that was created. She makes a remark as well, lovely decor, cold board decor or something like that. You mentioned it. We speculated this back in the early days of this TV show. Was she growing up in Sokovia, binging on American sitcoms, and this was her escapism? And now that she's lost vision, she's lost everything, her grief, she's escaping off into that world, literally creating it around her. It's proven here, Stephen, that's exactly what was happening. They had the film nights, TV nights, her two parents and her brother. What did you make about that scene, Stephen? It was tragic, and there was so many cool little things linking in to earlier on in the actual series. The advert with the toaster, Stark, the blinking light connecting in with the actual rocket coming through. They're stuck under this table, I think it was, for 2 days. All they see is Stark Industries, the blinking light. That's the agenda she has against Tony Stark in Age of Ultron. It all links in. It's all methodical. I loved that scene. It was absolutely tragic, I says. It was equal parts tragic, illuminating in terms of what it's connecting, visually amazing. Just tragic, man, what these two characters went through.
It was good to see her parents, though, John, because another YouTube channel, which I won't mention, did have a theory that perhaps the man and the woman from those adverts was actually her mum and dad, which would be a nice tie-in. It was I think it's one of the better theories I've heard, but it was confirmed, obviously, it wasn't. Yeah, John, it's a pity that we do this show live because it would be great to clip everything that we get right about this series so far, and we've had a lot right.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Since maybe episode 1 and 2, we started speculating, and we got most of it right. But it was a great scene, John, and it was. It's important as well that you get to see that relationship between her and Pietro as well. The early years, you know how close they were. Clearly, they're twins, but just seeing that relationship between both of them, siblings, and it was right, John. I think you know the old sitcoms of the 50s and 60s and through the decades is obviously it's like comfort watching for her, you know, and it takes her back to a simpler time when the family would all sit around and share those moments. So we already mentioned that, John. It was kind of pointing in that direction. I didn't think it would be DVD. I thought it would be bad satellite television, but I'm forgetting the age that it would have been in. It would have been the 1990s with her age. You know, I mean,
DVDs
I'm a lot
back then, though. We had video cassette tapes.
late 90s, but it just highlights how old I am because I'm thinking it must be old broadcast, old satellite broadcast. A bit like I was, and probably the first time we did a live broadcast in separate houses, John. Beirut 1986. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen, we see her binge watching sitcoms again in another
Dick Van
sequence.
Dyke, yeah.
Dick Van Dyke, that was in that one though, but I'm talking about when Vision's sitting in the bed with her. She's grieving Pietro, she's watching and binging sitcoms again. So this is clearly a comfort blanket, this is where she goes to, and it's natural the next conclusion, or the next evolution of that would be creating these sitcoms around about her. I loved it. I loved the scene. Obviously, we move on to the Hydra labs. We see her having a brush with the Mind Stone. There's a vision of what she's to become. Scarlet Witch walking towards her. We see the Tesseract, as I did say. Lots of cool things going on in that scene again, Stephen. What do you think that... I mean, I'm obviously... We see it time and again. We're not as brushed up in the actual comic book lore. We love the films. I don't know if it's been established that she had this connection with the Mind Stone prior. I think it probably has. That's where she got her power. But also that connection with Vision. He has the Mind Stone in his head. She had that brush with it. It elevated her powers. Do you think that's maybe her creating Vision using fragments of the Mind Stone that she's maybe took out of it when she's had that brush? Do you think that's what's helped form the connection with Vision prior to this? That's maybe what's helped her create this separate version of Vision within this hex. What's your thoughts on that, Stephen? What did you make about that scene as well? We've got that as the thumbnail. The vision of Scarlet Witch walking towards her. I thought it was amazing.
It was, John. I think I wasn't sure who that was, to be honest with you. I wasn't sure that was Scarlet Witch.
It might not be.
It was a silhouette, wasn't it? Yeah. But what I got from it was a part of a past she didn't want to revisit, clearly. She saw that door open and she said, I don't want to go there. Clearly, a lot happened there between her and Pietro. A lot of trauma. You know, a lot of experimentation on them. Which we kind of get a hint in, obviously, the Age of Ultron at the start when they're introduced. But I think it was a good scene. I don't really know. I'm like yourself, John. I'm not really up to date with the lore and stuff like that. I'm not really sure our connection with the Mind Stone. But it did beg the question, which we will get into at the end of the show, by the end of this review, when Vision is created. And how he's created, we expected it to be his corpse was the essence of how he was recreated. This confirms it wasn't. So there must be a connection there to the Mind Stone for her to conjure him being in existence. There's got to be something.
I think there is. I think there's elements of her power have bled out of that Mind Stone. It's elevated her witch powers. And the fact that when she is creating Vision later on in the episode, it's yellow power, which is the Mind Stone's colour. Yeah. I think has an essence of Vision in this hex. I don't know how it's going to play out. I've got my own theory. I may be completely wrong. Time will tell. There's two theories that I think are possible. Two, not two. Giving the Vicky there, like Adrian Edmondson. Stephen, moving on though, we'll not linger on that too much. We've got two other scenes to delve back into. We have the scene where Vision's sitting on the bed. She's grieving Pietro. Quite awkward. He's trying to console her. He has an amazing quote in this scene, and I think only Paul Bettany could do this quote justice. I'm going to read it. Not the whole thing, really. But he says, "It can't all be sorrow, can it? I've always been alone, so I don't feel the lack. I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief, if not love persevering?" I just thought that was incredible. Yeah. An incredible sort of emotive...
It capped off a good scene, John.
Poignant.
I think from Wanda's point of view, she was trying to be polite and telling Vision, you'll never understand grief or you'll never understand love.
And he absolutely schooled her.
He did. He absolutely did. And I think I think that was the point of their connection and their relationship was she fully understood him at that point with what he said. I'm assuming this is round about the time of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Because that room is an Age of Ultron. I remember that. And she did say it was the Avengers headquarters that she was getting kept in as well. So it just sort of it fattens out the sort of experience of other films as well. That's what I love about this television series. You're getting to see the characters' arc sort of filled out more. You're getting to understand them more, how close they were, how they relate. And it's the same with scenes like this. These are almost like Back to the Future 2 when you're seeing scenes from a different angle, that you know and love. It's very similar to that. Oh, right, so this is prior to what we see in the Age of Ultron or just maybe after what we see in Age of Ultron. That's very interesting, actually, because you see their relationship blossom in this scene, so it's great.
And Stephen, obviously, Agatha's playing therapist here, sort of self-absorbed, self-gain therapist. She's trying to harness what Wanda's exuding in power. She's trying to get to the bottom of how this all happened. She also sensed the power. She was drawn to it. She started manipulating. She does that sort of crying thing. She's wiping a tear from her eye, but it's all fake. I just loved. I'm going to have a little look at the actual actor because I don't know her name. Catherine Hahn. I just thought she was by far the standout performance in this episode. Absolutely amazing. Just humour she brought. Some of her lines.
John,
the way she's manipulating things again.
While we're talking about her, that last couple of minutes of last week's episode where it goes through the whole, it was Agatha all along. I loved that sequence. I loved the music.
And I
loved her looking at the camera and the laugh. Just everything about it was great.
An amazing actor, man. I didn't know who she was prior to this. I'm going to keep a close eye on her. I hope this character continues after this. I hope she doesn't end. Because by all accounts in the comics, she's a sort of oscillating force. She can be really good, really bad. She sort of flip-flops. So she may actually be apparently a close aid of Wanda at times in the comics. So hopefully she could be a sort of a ever-present presence.
Almost like a Loki Thor relationship where they get on sometimes and sometimes they hate each other. Yeah.
Dane, I think her claiming that Scarlet Witch title was almost bestowed upon her by Agatha at the end. I think we will see her assuming that. I think we'll see the crown come. If it is a crown, I don't know what the hell that is. I think there'll be a lot more witchcraft present in the MCU. We're going to have vampires with Blade. I think it's a new era. And I think we will see Agatha moving forward. I hope she doesn't end here because it'd be tragic. She's such a cool character. This has spawned some more new faces, some recurring faces, Jimmy Woo, Darcy, and I want to see them all continuing after this. But Stephen, obviously we see another scene after that. It's the reanimated corpse of Vision, but it isn't reanimated. I'm talking shite. It's the corpse of Vision being taken apart. That's quite an important scene for this series. I'll go to myself and give you a break, Stephen, because as you did say previously, we all assumed, well, I say we all, us two assumed, I can't speak for other people outside of us, we both assumed that she had been reanimating the corpse of Vision. We've seen it in that episode. She looks behind her and it's dead Vision for a moment. Hayward told a little white lie in a sense. He told a little white lie. You don't have to tell a lie, to quote Yoko Ono. Came into my head there, I don't know why. He told a little lie that she took his body and reanimated it. That's not the case. She walks away. She has that moment as well, Stephen, where she says, I feel nothing. And I think that goes back to, I don't know what movie it is. I don't know if it's Infinity War or I don't know what movie, but there's a moment between Vision and Wanda. And she says, I think he's speaking about the stone. And she says, all I feel is you. When she says, I feel nothing, that's almost her admitting he's gone. Vision's dead.
Yeah.
She walks away. And then she also has that scene where she sees the little pamphlet or whatever that he'd bought her a lot in Westview, and that sparks all of this craziness we see. What did you make about that scene, Stephen? Hayward being a little lying shit. Also letting her in to see the corpse, so he's not all bad. He did let her see the corpse.
I think he knows her power, John, so he's not going to push her too much.
Stephen, did you not laugh? Did you not laugh when she came down through the glass to stand over Vision's corpse and they say, "Stand down, it's all right." As if you know she would kill everybody in that room, including you.
He knows
no
that as well.
control. You have no control here. Stand down, it's okay.
Oh, this is it was a great scene though, John. It's quite emotional. We kind of got a hint of it in CCTV footage, didn't we, a few weeks ago?
She walked out without it.
Showing Monica Rambeau, her going into that facility. We're getting the full picture though. It looked like she was about to unleash all, hell in that facility from the CCTV footage, but it doesn't pan out that way. No. It's a contrast, John, that scene you're talking about in the quote about she doesn't feel him. I can't remember myself. I'm not really sure if it's Infinity War or Endgame. Can't remember.
Well, she had scenes with him in Infinity War. Obviously, it was shot in Edinburgh. It was at the train station before Captain America makes his appearance, which was amazing.
It must have been. It must have been because Vision wasn't in Endgame, was he?
No, no, he's dead.
He's dead in Infinity War. So it's because those two films bleed into each other. You do sometimes forget where it's it sort of stops and then starts again. It kind of just it's one continuous story. But no, it was a great scene, John. It was kind of confirming as well that what was that guy's name again from Sword?
Hayward.
Hayward. I don't like him. I've never liked him from the beginning, but it shows that he's. Monica Rambeau actually said this 2 weeks ago as well. He's got his own plans. Mm-hmm. It's Vision he wants. It's obviously he wants to, utilize him as a weapon.
Going right in the face of. I don't know what the saying would be. I'm terrible with sayings, but sort of disrespecting Vision's last wish. He didn't want his body being used. He didn't want to be made a weapon in a sense, and he's doing the complete opposite. He's weaponising his corpse. Well, it's not a corpse now, it's very much alive, as we'll get into at the end. Stephen, one other thing.
3 billion? What much was it? 3 billion?
13? Was it 13
billion?
Worth of vibranium.
Vibranium, yeah. Jeez,
we can't allow you to bury it. Stephen, it's reasonable. You have to think in real world terms. If this was real life and these things were walking around, they wouldn't
allow. He does not see Vision as a living person. He says it himself offline.
Yeah, we want to bring him back online,
Back online, yeah.
And then he corrects himself. We know what you're all about, you shithead. Stephen,
he corrected himself for his own good, though.
Yeah, because she'd have killed him. Stephen, final thing I'd say about this scene, we see the contrast when she walks in. Obviously, Wanda, they say, "We'll let you in." I don't need it. She uses her magic to open the doors up. Earlier on, Monica tried to get in, she couldn't get through. She had to wait until Hayward came out. So we see that sort of contrast. There was a nice bit of symmetry there. I like that. I don't know if it means anything, but I noticed it nonetheless. What else have we got here, Stephen? The ending. We're walking into the ending now, really. End credits scene in the ending. Obviously, Agatha realises at this point how she's created all of this. She realises that she is a source of chaotic magic. And she says, "You're this mythological sort of presence creature. You're the Scarlet Witch." And it ends like that. But at that moment, she's obviously got the two kids by the throats.
Yeah.
Do you think the
prior
kids
to that, Jordan?
Yeah.
Prior to that, though, was obviously a standing on the plot. Obviously with the deeds, as you mentioned, John, from Vision, saying, I can't remember what it said in the note. I can't remember.
Grow old together or something. A place to grow old.
It was quite sad.
It was.
That's what obviously triggered it. It's interesting as well, John, that Wanda's chaotic magic is related to her emotions as well. She just let all her emotions flood out.
Stephen, that was a great scene.
Visually, it was a stunning scene, John.
And a very emotional performance from Elizabeth Olsen as well. You actually felt her pain.
John,
she's held it together.
The more I see this actor, the more I love her, because we only got glimpses in the films of how good she is. And I'm so glad for this television series because we're getting to see her at her, the height of her abilities in acting. She just draws the emotions throughout the whole series, not just this episode. The whole series, we've seen her just channeling different emotions from scene to scene, and we do talk about Paul Bettany probably a bit more.
Just because I'm obsessed with Paul, he's a great actor.
We've probably seen him in more things as well, John, over the years, So, but Elizabeth Olsen for me is just she's just as good as Paul Bettany.
Absolutely, Stephen. It's a dual story, really. Wandavision. Without one or the other, it wouldn't be the same. And it's starting to sort of delve more into Wanda now. It's getting right into her soul and what's motivated her. She's the person who's created all this. And it's the House of M story from the comics. It's all about Wanda, her grief, creating all of this craziness. So I'm glad she's getting a moment, and you're right, she's been absolutely outstanding. I thought Agatha, the actual actress, was probably the standout with flourishes, but you can't write off Elizabeth Olsen in this episode either. Absolutely incredible. And that moment she drops down and the energy bursts out, she creates vision. The moment he looks at her and says, "Shall we stay in?" I think things I'm paraphrasing, but that was a great moment. All going to black and white. She's in colour. Then it turns the camera around and she's in black and white. It was an amazing moment, and it sets up the ending. Stephen, what did you make about? And again, the yellow energy, creating vision. I think there's something going on there, Stephen. They wouldn't show you that energy being yellow, linking it to the Mind Stone, him having the Mind Stone in his head. I don't think the anything's throwaway with Kevin Feige, the people involved in this TV show. I think they're hinting something's going on here. This vision's got to have some significance in this Hex world. He can't just be a creation of hers and then disappear. He must have a part to play moving forward. But we'll get into the end credit scene, obviously. There's going to be two visions. It's almost like Logan again, two characters facing off. Who's going to prevail? The ending, Stephen, what did you make about these kids? Do you think these kids can survive outside this Hex? Do you think they're going to have a place outside of this, or do you think they're dead? Because, a little bit of slang, deed, pan, breed. Do you think they could survive this
Those
TV
deeds.
show? There's the deeds, the title deeds. Aye, oh, fuck's sake, I am. Stephen, what do you make about these two kids? Do you think they can survive this TV show? Because she seems to be really obsessed with them. Where's the kids? Where's my sons? Do you think they can survive?
I'll be honest with you. I don't really care. I've got no emotional attachment to these kids at all, and I think it's to do with the fact they grew up in one episode. There's been no growth there. If there's one thing, it was very quirky and a very comical thing to do was get the kids from the beginning of an episode when they were babies right through to the probably about pre-teens, and one half hour sitting.
It's played for jokes.
Exactly.
Oh my God,
so I can't really get emotionally attached to these kids at all.
What I would say about
I'll
it, Stephen,
be honest with you, I wasn't really that bothered what she was doing with them. I've got kids, by the way, so I'm not one of these weirdos that doesn't like children.
I was more upset with the dog getting killed than I was with the kids getting choked out. I have to be honest. I kind of share your sentiments. I think that says more about me. I care more about dogs. I have a 6-stone lab lying down beside me.
From Wanda's point of view, yes, it's obviously that's her babies. Or is it? I don't know. I'm still trying to get my head around their existence. Do they exist? Do they not? I don't know.
Well, in the comics, they didn't. They disappeared. They were shards of Mephisto's soul, but they did exist after it. Strangely, they were born again. I don't know. What I would say, Stephen, though,
I think they'd have to build up the stakes on that scene, John, would be for them to establish to the audience if they were real or not.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. You know, we don't know if they are, so the stakes aren't really high.
See, from a mutant standpoint, no, Stephen, that could be significant. If they do survive, this could be the first mutants in the MCU, if you're not counting Wanda herself. And she was
John, once again, we're ahead of the curve on this because everyone's theorising on this now, that with the Hex spreading, that it could spread throughout America, it could spread throughout the world, and what it will do is ignite or trigger one of those, I don't know what you call them, those, the DNA within,
rewriting the sort of genome.
The gene, within them, and this is what triggers obviously the mutants throughout the world. I think it'd be a great storyline. It'd be a great way to introduce them as well.
Stephen, there's going to be something crazy happening in this last episode. Doctor Strange is coming in. There's going to be crazy shit. We'll get into it in a moment. I'm absolutely certain of it. I'm going to ask you what's happening in this final episode. I think there's going to be some very, very interesting things happening indeed. But the end credit scene with White Vision, amazing moment, Stephen. He's weaponising Vision's corpse. He says they've rebuilt him time and time again. Obviously, they power him using the chaotic energy from, I think, a drone. And this is what brings him to life. It's almost a Frankenstein's monster moment. He's alive! Alive! And he looks with his eyes, his hands. White Vision. You says he looks like something else.
Dr. Manhattan, yeah.
Yes, from Watchmen.
The only thing was that we don't get to see, obviously... Okay, see Vision's knob.
Well, Paul Bettany spoke about that. Josh Whedon wanted Paul Vision's dingus to be hanging out in Age of Ultron. He's seen it on the storyboarding and he says, nope, you're right. And that, Stephen, I made that a topic on a show and I was fucking killing myself laughing at that. Paul Bettany's...
Because it was one of the things... One of the things they did with Dr. Manhattan was obviously highlight that. And it was so off-putting throughout the Watchmen film. You know, Zack Snyder obviously had a thing for that, but I'm glad they didn't do that.
The whole Paul Bettany.
Not for television. Not Disney would not allow that.
Oh, could you imagine, Stephen? Jesus Christ, this is a company that are having to rewrite disclaimers into things from 70 years ago. If they put dinguses floating around on an android character, what the hell would they have to write to start that episode? Oh, it'd be crazy, man.
You've got the Daily Mail in there.
That was Ringo, wasn't it? Or was that George? I can't recall.
It was Ringo, yeah.
Ringo talking about John Lennon with the... What was that, the name of that album, Stephen? The Two Virgins?
Two Virgins.
Yeah. What the fuck? It was Stephen. Well, they weren't, let's be honest, Stephen. They weren't. We all know about John's turn it in Hamburg and stuff like that. And I'm on Shoko. But Stephen, let's move on to Vision, White Vision. What do you think's the future in this TV show for White Vision? We'll get into the theorising now.
Shipagram.
It was a cool moment, Stephen, him animating. Obviously in the comics, he's an emotionless version of Vision. He's a weaponized version. He ultimately does become Vision later on in the comics.
He's a weapon.
Yeah, he's a weapon, yeah. A grade A dingus. But Stephen, we're never going to end this show, man. Oh, Jesus. What do you think is going to happen with him and Vision? Obviously, they're going to send him into the Hex. There's going to be a showdown between him and this Hex Vision. Do you think they could coalesce? Is that the word? Could they come together and make one full Vision? Could this be how they bring Vision into the MCU? This Hex Vision mix with White Vision and become real Vision outside of the Hex? Or does Vision within this Hex have to kill himself and this other Vision to end it all? How do you think this could happen, Stephen? Theorising, how's Doctor Strange going to come into this, man? How's it all going to play out? What's going to happen in this last episode, Stephen? Have you got any thoughts?
John, I hope it's an hour-long episode because tonight's episode, actually, we didn't mention the running time. It was about 40 minutes long. I think we're going to need another... Yeah, I hate that. It does my head in because I check the running time and then I go, I've still got 5 minutes to go, and then it ends abruptly.
It's the first thing I do. I go right at the end and see when the end credits start, and then I count how much time I've actually got, and it winds me up. It's only 30 odd minutes.
I don't know why they need so... I know there's obviously a lot of people working on these things, but it just goes on and on and on. I've never seen that television show.
At least I give it the end credit scenes though.
When you think back to the 90s, an episode of Friends was under 20 minutes long, you know. Yeah, and then credits to this television series nearly a quarter of the length of an episode of Friends. I think we're going to have to cram a lot in, John, because if we're taking Elizabeth Olsen's quote about a Luke Skywalker moment, who's it going to be? Talking about Monica. We're going to talk about Monica Rambeau's space engineer friend, who a lot of people are now saying could be Doctor Doom. That's a good call. I don't know how. I think that's how a lot happened in this episode. I don't know, John. The Vision thing is very interesting, though. I don't think there's going to be any self-sacrificing or anything like that. I think Paul Bettany is going to be around for a while yet.
Dean, I think they will. I think they'll come together. I don't know if there's precedent for it in the comics. I don't think he's going to kill the other White Vision. Why would you set up a pure vibranium weaponized Vision and then just kill him off the very next episode? This is the way to engineer Vision back into the MCU. I'm absolutely certain of it. I've seen theories out there. That could be his physical form. Yeah, and then the Hex is the mental form. He attaches to the physical form, they move outside. That's how I think it's going to happen. I hope I'm right. I want to see this character moving forward. Doctor Strange.
Well, you want that, John. You want that because you don't want to have a fresh Vision coming in and having no relationship with Wanda. It's not like Gamora and Star-Lord. It's not like that where
you'd have
it's like, that relationship between them had some deep moments, obviously the death of Gamora, but the way they handled that in Endgame was fine. And I'm pretty sure that relationship further down the line will blossom again. It's still the same person, but this is a different Vision. This is a different.
And you'd have three, Stephen. If you went with the white Vision moving out, you'd have new Vision. You'd have a new Loki. The old Loki with his memories sort of not what they were. You'd have a new Gamora. You're doing that 3 times. It'd be a bit strange. I want to see some. Obviously, it's not Vision as we knew him. It's a different Vision. But I prefer Red Vision to White Vision. It's a cool Vision, but
I prefer sounding Vision, David Bowie.
Yeah, but Stephen, obviously
not Chuckle Vision.
Oh no, I hate them, man. Oh, I hate them for passion. To me, to you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hated that song, man. But Stephen, talking about Stephen, Dr. Stephen Strange. How's this guy going to come in?
I'm not strange. Yeah, John, I don't know.
How can it work?
I'll be honest with you, John. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but I've not seen anywhere else where they've said Doctor Strange is coming in. You telling me?
I'm sure.
So I hope you're right.
I'm absolutely certain he's coming in. I'm sure it was confirmed he was making an appearance, and even Paul Bettany, I think, mentioned that was rumoured that, and then people sort of found out that he was going to be in it. We know she's co-starring in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. He better be in it, or I'm looking at an absolute tit. So, you cheeky tit, Partridge again. You better be in this, Stephen, and I will be raging.
That's how I've not been talking about him all these weeks.
Oh, I hope he is. But Stephen, how do you think this is going to play out? Obviously, we've got that white. Did you see the whiteboard thing with the announcement of No Way Home? The hexes on the whiteboard. How do you think this is going to connect into other projects that are focusing around this multiverse concept? And we're seeing different forms of Electro and all of this shit going on. Do you think there's going to be a connection in this last episode that's going to link them up, or do you think it's all fanciful? Do you think this hex will explode out? Do you think there'll be a cataclysmic moment? Wanda will make everything happen. That's how the mutants are all born, as we spoke about before. What do you think is going to happen? Yeah. I'm dragging this out. I understand I'm dragging this review out.
I think this is just really I think this is the beginning of it, John, and I don't think we're really going to delve too much into it. I don't think it's going to lead right into Spider-Man 3 and explain all the multiverse stuff. I think a lot of that will be left to Doctor Strange too. What's coming out first? Spider-Man?
Spider-Man 3, yeah.
I think we'll probably get the beginning of it in this last episode, how things will pan out. We'll get a lot of it in Spider-Man 3, but not explained too well. And then I think by the point we get to Doctor Strange 2, the explanation will be there, what the hell is happening.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope it does. It expands the mutants out and stuff like that. Hopefully this will be the beginning of a whole new sort of era of storytelling in the MCU. But look, that's going to round it up, man. That's going to round our review up. It was very lengthy, Stephen. There was a lot of tangents about Vision's dingus and stuff like that, but we got there in the end. I don't know.
Glad that's not a thumbnail.
Yes. Stephen, if that was in the episode, that would have been the thumbnail. I would not have missed it, man. That would have just hit home. Once again, this is not a channel for kids. And I keep saying it every week, every opportunity I can. If you're a kid watching this, fuck off. It's not for you. Just so YouTube doesn't try to demonetize the whole channel. It's not for kids. But Stephen, that's going to round our review up. What's your thoughts on episode 8 of Wandavision, previously on, I think it's called? What do you think's going on getting into this finale? What did you make about performances, the story in general, the evolution of Agatha, of Wanda? Do you think the kids will survive? What's going to happen with White Vision? If you've got anything to share, theorise, you can comment down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the follow button on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future, and that's what you'll get, guys. But look, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bid you farewell. Bye-bye.